Okay, so let's listen to this clip. It's Elon Musk talking about how AI will impact the future of work and what people will do for living, how people are going to live, how they'll be able to buy stuff and afford to live if AI is replacing most jobs. Take a listen to this.
Driving.
In 10 years?
In 10 years, probably 90% of miles driven will be autonomous.
Huh.
Wow.
That fast?
Yeah. In 5 years, probably 50% of all miles driven will be autonomous.
Now, if AI will be smarter than any person, how many jobs go away because of that? And what do people do if you've got millions of people that are losing their jobs? Like that, a lot of people are understandably freaked out about that.
Well, goods and services will become as close to free. So it's not as though people will be wanting in terms of goods and services.
So why is that? Why are goods and services free in an AI world or close to free?
Well, you have, I don't know, call it tens of billions of robots. They will make you anything or provide any service you want for basically next to nothing. It's not that people will have a lower standard of living. They'll have actually a much higher standard of living. But the challenge will be fulfillment. How do you derive fulfillment and meaning in life?
Skynet real? Like you get the apocalyptic visions of AI. How real is the prospect of killer robots annihilating humanity?
20% likely. Maybe
Wow.
10%.
On what time frame?
5 to 10 years.
So soon, like you see a world where that's possible.
Yeah, but I mean, you could look at it like the glass is 80 to 90% full, meaning like 80% likely will have extreme prosperity for all.
Okay, so to go over the points in the video that Elon was making, he said that, you know, goods and services will be close to free because of AI, and there'll be billions and billions of robots, and these robots will be able to provide you with anything you need for close to nothing. My number one question to that is everybody just going to be handed these robots for free, or do we have to pay for them? Number one, because AI right now, if you want the more advanced features of AI, such as ChatGPT, DeepSeek, and all these tools, for the most part, you have to pay for them, right? You can get some of the lower features for free, but if you want some of the advanced features, it's not free. So if we're going to have all these humanoid robots and they're going to be able to pretty much do anything that we want, and goods and services are going to be close to free because they're going to be able to run everything for us, are these robots going to be affordable for the average person? That's my number one question. Okay. And he goes on to say that because these humanoid robots are going to be able to provide these goods and services for us for close to nothing, then it means that people are going to have a higher standard of living. Okay. So our standard of living isn't going to deteriorate because of less demand for human labor, because ultimately that's where the world is going. There will be less demand for human labor, meaning the jobs that you're doing, the jobs that I'm doing right now, there will be less demand for it. It's going to impact employment, the world of work. It's going to completely change. If these predictions are right, it's going to completely change the world as we know it. And I don't think any of us are prepared for that. So it says we're going to have a higher standard of living as a result. I'm not completely sure I buy into that, but I'll share my opinion on that as well. And then he goes on to say that the challenge will be fulfillment in life, because now that you don't have to work, you don't have to have a job, you don't have to run a business, because your AI or your humanoid robot is going to be able to do everything for you. The challenge is going to be how you find fulfillment in life, because most of us tend to find purpose and fulfillment through our jobs, through the things that we do, that we use to make a living. That's where we get our significance and our fulfillment from, for the most part. And so he says that's going to be the challenge, because now that people and this kind of ties in with what Bill Gates was saying as well, that I addressed in my last video, where it says that humans were not born to work anyway, and that AI is going to free us up from labor and the rat race and the so-called matrix, having to go to work every day. And then that's going to free people up to be able to pursue greater purpose in life. So this is a similar theme, and I guess this is how they're trying to sell AI and the adoption and embracing of AI to us, to get us to believe that although we're going to be losing jobs, and the skills and things that we're using to make a living for ourselves is no longer going to be required. But don't worry, because AI is going to be able to do everything for you. It's going to be able to provide you with goods and services for free. Your quality of life is going to improve, and all you have to think about is how you're going to find fulfillment in life, whether that's through pursuing things, leisurely things that give you fulfillment, or spending time with your family, or maybe it's religious activities, getting closer to God, whatever it is that gives you fulfillment. Then you're going to have so much time on your hands to do that, because you don't have to work anymore. Um, but while all of this sounds great, and it's, this utopian type of world, and, to a certain degree, I kind of agree that we were not meant to work, or in that sense, like in the system that we're in now, that's not what God intended. When God made man, if you go by the biblical accounts, and the most religious text, creation story, um, is kind of similar, whether you're Christian or not Christian, or maybe you're Muslim or whatever other religion. Most of the creation accounts and the purpose of man, God created man essentially, um, and in the garden before the fall, man already had everything that he needed, right? There was already food. There was, everything that man needed to sustain himself was already provided, right? So his essence, or the essence of humans, wasn't really to have a job, right? It wasn't really to be stressed out thinking about paying bills and so on and so forth. It was to have a greater fulfillment, to dominate, to have dominion over the birds of the air, over the cattle of the field, and over the earth. And it was about being able to exercise dominion, rulership. And essentially that means, finding that thing in life that you can be a master of, and you can be a master of your own destiny, and you're a king in your own domain, in a domain where you're exercising your gifts, your talents, your natural abilities, be it in music, be it in art, be it in technology. But you're exercising that dominion. You're a king in your domain, not because you're chasing money, but because you're expressing the God-given talent, abilities that God has put into you, and you're using that, and you're sharing it with the world, and you're using that as an avenue to share your purpose with the world. And so the argument is that AI is going to be able to take us back to that utopian world of what God originally intended. Um, but I'm not, while I like that idea and I would love that idea, I would love not to have the burden of having to go to work and worrying about paying my mortgage and living, being able to provide for my family, put a roof over the head of my kids, making sure their needs are met, making sure that they have money for college, the college tuition, and so on and so forth. I would love not to have that burden hanging over my head, but I'm not completely convinced that this AI world that we're about to enter into, and mind you, Elon says that all of this is going to happen within the next 5 to 10 years, that the world as we know it is going to radically change within the next 5 to 10 years. And things are moving so fast in the world of artificial intelligence that I actually believe him. He says, like, within the next 5 to 10 years, most cars will be self-driving, right? And AI would have taken over most jobs within the next 5 to 10 years. The human labor there's going to be a reduction, probably 70% of jobs are going to go, or they'll be gradually phased out because AI is going to take over. So all of this is going to happen really fast. And we can see the evidence because the pace at which this technology is evolving is crazy. So those are things that I do agree with. But this idea that, AI is just going to magically make the world easier for all of us, will be the burden of having to work and all of that's going to be removed. I'm not sure I buy into that because, number one, these robots are probably going to cost an astronomical amount of money. I'm not sure how many people will be able to afford them. I'm not sure they're going to be giving them away. I'm just not completely convinced that this story that they're selling to us. Yes, the elites may be in a position to, you know, buy these humanoid robots that will be able to do all of their daily chores and businesses and hustle and bustle for them, right? They will be able to afford these humanoid robots to basically delegate all of their day-to-day duties that they need to do, all of the labor, the human labor, right? They'll be able to be in a position to be able to afford these humanoid robots to do these things for them. But will the average person be able to do that as well? That is my question. Okay. I would love it for it to lead us into this utopian world, but in my personal opinion, I just think that this is ultimately going to create a greater divide between the haves and the have-nots. And again, those that already got billions and millions, they're comfortable, they don't have to worry about money on a day-to-day basis, they're probably likely to be okay. But the average guy that's working a minimum wage job, that's living paycheck to paycheck, that's just about feeding his family and putting a roof over his head, I'm not sure that the experience is going to be the same. I'm not sure it's going to level the playing field. I just think it's going to create a bigger divide. But I hope that I'm wrong. I hope that it does take us to that utopian world. But I'm interested to know, what do you guys think? Do you subscribe to what Elon is saying? Do you buy into this narrative that it's going to take us into this utopian world? Or is the ultimate end going to be a dystopian future for the average person where poverty is going to increase because not everybody's going to be able to afford to delegate their labor to these humanoid robots because it probably won't be affordable, or for whatever reason, maybe it's a thing where the elite control access to these robots. I don't know. But all I know is I don't buy into that fairy tale of a happy ever after utopian world because of AI. So, but I'm curious to hear you guys' thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comment section.